In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, peace and blessings be upon the seal of the prophets and upon his family and all his companions. Peace be upon you and the mercy and blessings of Allah. General Qaani of Iran's Quds force arrived in Iraq yesterday and told the Iraqi government that no action should be taken against any of the Shia militias active in Iraq, and there are more than one active there. At least three are active that are operating there. It was roughly 2 months ago that the Iraqi government officially announced a new directive stating that all of these various militias must surrender their weapons. This mandate requires that the disarmament process be fully completed by the end of September. The primary reason for this significant incident was that the Iraqi government, along with the National Army operating under its direct command, decided to take decisive action. They successfully arrested over 100 members of this specific militia group at the very moment they were actively preparing to launch a barrage of bombs and missiles aimed directly at Saudi Arabia. It appears they had received critical intelligence from an undisclosed source, which prompted them to conduct a swift and coordinated raid. During this operation, they not only succeeded in seizing the dangerous missiles, but also managed to apprehend the militants involved. Furthermore, the newly appointed Prime Minister of Iraq has reportedly received a specific and high-stakes assignment from both the United States and Saudi Arabia, which likely influenced the timing and the intensity of this government crackdown. He has received two orders. Saudi Arabia has told him, brother, these attacks are coming from your territory into ours. Stop them, otherwise we will stop them ourselves. So that is how it stands. Secondly, America has said, you are not to do anything to the Kurdish rebels. You are not to do anything to the Kurdish rebels, since they act on our instructions, you see, so you are not to do anything to them. So these are the two orders for the current Iraqi government for their prime minister. The army there has made a banker, Mr. Shaukat Aziz, the prime minister, so he is now walking on a tightrope. So they had issued a notice. This Qaani, who is the general commander of the Quds force, went and said that if you do this, we will consider it a stab in the back of Iran. His statement had not come out until yesterday, but today this statement of his has appeared in the media. And the fundamental reason is that the militia was established at that time in Iran. Although the Shia population is said to be 60 to 65%, there is a division even within that. The majority of them are this 65% population, while the rest are Sunni Arabs. Among them, there are two groups. One is the Twelvers, who have held their traditional viewpoint, and the others are the Wilayat-e-Faqih supporters, who consider them as imams. The institution of Khomeini or Khamenei, and now Mujtaba Khamenei has come in their place. This is where the disagreement remains. Based on this very disagreement, there are clashes and fights among them. So that is one thing. The second thing is that, as we mentioned yesterday, the legal and constitutional government in Yemen, which is recognized by the United Nations and other nations, with the help of Saudi Arabia, that government's army, along with Saudi forces, has launched a ground offensive against the Houthis. And as a result of this offensive, they have set up defensive positions, meaning that they have taken out nearly 28 commanders. And keep in mind that until just before these last few days, not a single Houthi commander had ever been killed. Tahir al-Qadri and Imran Ahmed Khan Niazi had marched towards Pakistan's capital, Islamabad. And since the parliament was present here, the parties within the parliament united and said, no, brother, we will not run away, nor will we resign at your behest. Now, the situation in Yemen is that the Houthis control the capital and 20% of the country's other areas, and the government, which controls 80 or 75% of the territory, is trying to reclaim the capital. This army, the army of this government, with the help of the Saudi army, is now attacking the Houthis. 28 commanders have been killed. Hundreds of their fighters have been killed. And as usually happens in such situations, panic has spread among the rest. So the remaining tribes have slowly started to distance themselves from the Houthis. The weapons, as usual and as per tradition, were supplied to the Houthis by the Americans. First, America announced that they would go to Yemen, that their army would go to establish peace, and they conducted hundreds of sorties, meaning flights arrived And as a result, billions of dollars worth of weapons were delivered there. Once the weapons arrived and were stored, they then said, no, we are not going. The Houthis used those weapons and blackmailed the entire world. However, as a result of this ground offensive, their naval offensive has decreased significantly. You might have noticed that for the past 3 days, they haven't fired any missiles or anything at any ships in the Bab al-Mandab Strait. They are now busy fighting for their own survival, just like the Popular Mobilization Forces and others in Iraq are currently fighting for their own survival. If the Saudi Air Force or the Yemeni Air Force had not taken decisive action to stop those Iranian planes at the Sana'a airport, it is entirely possible that those high-ranking Iranian generals from the Al-Quds Brigade might have made several clandestine trips there, potentially causing significant trouble and escalating the regional conflict. However, in a recent turn of events, when they attempted to return after attending Khamenei's funeral, the Yemeni government forces took a firm stand. They fired warning shots and launched missiles at those approaching planes, effectively preventing them from landing at the Sana'a airport. Since that critical moment, the direct connection between Iran and the local forces has been somewhat severed, marking a major shift in the ongoing situation. Furthermore, it is important to note that the Saudi Navy successfully intercepted and sank several of these vessels. In fact, they took down 2 to 3 specific ships that were actively attempting to reach the Houthi rebels, all while carrying a dangerous cargo of weapons and advanced missiles directly from Iran. You really need to keep these 2 critical developments in mind as we look at the bigger picture. Now, following these events, they have gone ahead and issued some very serious threats. This individual, Mr. Qaani, or whoever he happens to be, has essentially said, brother, you need to give them some time, do this and do that. He is implying that if you do not grant them that time, we will be forced to consider it a direct stab in the back of Iran. Pakistan's Interior Minister, Mr. Syed Mohsin Raza Naqvi, arrived on a visit to Iran. He held meetings, and during his presence there, a new head was appointed for the Revolutionary Guard. A general was appointed as the new head. Furthermore, they have removed the Speaker of the National Assembly from the negotiation team, and the person who has replaced him is quite a hardliner. Anyway, this was some update regarding Iran. Iran's proxies in Iraq and Yemen are taking a heavy beating, and apart from issuing threats, and that too in a very polite manner, Iran cannot do anything to save them. That is all for now. I will be back in the next vlog. May Allah Almighty grant you ease and give you the ability to distribute ease among His creation.